I think it can be really hard to talk about yourself and to, I think, sometimes brag about yourself or open up a lot of things about yourself. And you will know best what kind of aspects you want to pull on. Some people do want to lean more towards the things that they've gone through and end on a positive note. Other people want to talk more about critiquing the system. And I think all of those are very valid. And I think all of those are very successful, as you guys have seen. All right. And then moving on to the next question, once again, trying to be as quick, not as quick as possible, but also make sure we get through all of our questions. Can you talk about what the SAT/ACT is and how you went about preparing for that exam? And we'll start that off with Nyla.
Yes. So before we get into how I got into preparing for the SAT and the ACT and SAT, we really need, like, it's a huge thing for me. A huge thing for me was understanding what the test was. So they're both standardized tests and they're both aptitude tests. Which a standardized test just means that they're graded and administered in a consistent slash standard way, and an aptitude test also just means that it's supposed to be a measure of how well you're going to do something, your natural ability to do something. So with these two tests, they're supposed to be an indicator for how well you're going to do in college, which isn't exactly always the most accurate, but that's how colleges interpret them. So for me, how I prepared for them was I took a practice test, and after I got my score back, I really broke down every single question in each section. So I took the SAT and the ACT, and I just like the ACT better. So that's what I studied. But the thing about the two tests is the skills are transferable. So if you're really studying the writing section and the reading section for the SAT, you could also administer those skills to the other test as well. So for me, what really increased my score was going through the questions I got wrong and really finding what that question was testing. You don't want to just keep on doing the same question and then circling the right answer when you get it wrong. You really want to understand the skill so that you can ensure you never get that type of question wrong again. So, for example, the writing section is broken down into a lot of things like concision, punctuation, the use of so many grammatical like rules in English. And so for that, for every question that I got wrong, I would study that skill set in which I got wrong. And once I studied that and put time into like perfecting my skill, I wouldn't ever get those questions wrong again, and I could actually see an increase in my score. And for me, I had a routine the summer before I was taking the test, so that I could be in a consistent routine so I could study for it, and so that when I come to take the test, I feel like I have a sufficient you know, practice time that I had behind me so that I could feel confident when I was taking the test. And also knowing your weak strengths, your weaknesses, and your strengths as well is also very important so that you can really allocate your time in an efficient way. And for me, I liked studying English one day and then math one day and then science or whatever it was, different days. And then at the end of the week, I'd take another practice test and kind of go based off that. And if you set aside a period of time, like 8 weeks, 12 weeks, at the end of that period, you will see an increase in your score if you're just remaining consistent and if you're really focusing on what you got wrong. And remembering again that it is a standardized test. And yeah.
Thank you so much. And moving on to EJ.
So I want to use my own experience as an example of what not to do when it comes to the SAT and ACT test. I will say, number one thing before taking the test, look at the schools that you are interested in applying to and look if it's test optional or if it's a requirement. One thing I will say that just because it is test optional, don't take that as, oh, I'm not going to bother with taking it. Because taking the SAT and taking the ACT is a bonus thing. And you want to be able to have like to show them like a really good test score. So it just adds on to the more reason as to why they should admit you. Because again, just like Nyla said, is that colleges use it to measure whether you're ready to handle the college classes that they have to offer. Again, as much as you may not see it being accurate, it's just what the college measure it to be. So again, I want to say that really research onto what to you are interested in applying to and looking into that and to not see that test optional over there and then take it as, again, I don't feel like I should bother with doing that. Because I will say that I personally did that. And again, I'm using my own experience as to what you should not do. One thing that I also would say is to, if there's a community college in your area, I will say that I am from Montgomery County, so we have a community college here. They offer courses and they offer classes. Reach out to your community colleges, look at the courses, look at the classes. Online as well. I know a lot of universities like Princeton University offer these courses, offer these classes for you to take and for you to learn and get a tutor and be able to, get help with it. It is pricey, I will say, but what isn't? It's just think about it as an investment to your future. And that's the big thing about what college is as well. You're investing into your own future. So really look at it as that. Um, I also will say go on Amazon, search up the books. It is changing. The SAT and ACT is changing. I think this year for the class of 2025, it will be electronic. I'm not quite sure, but definitely go on College Board, look at what they have on there because they will tell you it will be all the information will be on there. And go back on Amazon to go look at books like 2024, SAT, ACT prep. That's what I did. And again, take it seriously. Take it seriously as much as you can. It is a very much of a bonus thing. And also you don't want to be in a position where maybe a bunch of these schools are test optional, but then one of the schools that you really want to apply to requires a test. So then you're kind of like stuck. And yeah, don't stress as well about it. Prep early as you can. Do what Nyla did, having a routine set down for you, and also be guidance and ask for help with a lot of things. Go to your math teacher if you need help on something real quick. Go to your English teacher to help you with this type of stuff. So yeah.
Thank you so much. I'm going to open it up again to any of our panelists if they want to add anything.
I would just like to add two little quick points to add on to her points. One, when you are looking at the schools and seeing if they're test optional or not, look at the range in which the previous years, the students that were admitted in the previous years, their SAT and SAT scores, because that's like a nice indicator into like whether your score is like up to par with where it should be. Not that a school will write you off if it isn't, but the reality is that like if you do choose to submit your score, you want it to be within a good range of what the previous students exhibited. And then another point is there's a lot of free resources for prepping online. So if you don't have the money or the resources to buy a book or invest in a tutor, you could always look online and ask your school because they most likely do have a lot of free resources. And there's also a bunch of good videos on YouTube that you could also use to prepare, which is what I used. So yeah, if money's an issue, you do have those resources at your fingertips.
Thank you so much. And Miriam, I think you had a point, or
Yeah, one thing that I didn't know existed until after I applied to all the schools, and Nyla actually taught me this, is that you can super score your SAT exam. So SAT is split into English, reading, English, and as one, and math as another. So if you take it one time and you get a really good math score and your English score is really bad, if you take it again, you can study really hard for just the English portion and then get a really good English score and not focus as much on the math section. Don't just like leave it blank or anything because the colleges do see them both at the end. And what you can do is you can get the best score of those two exams. You can say you can get your really good math score and your really good English score from the two separate exams, combine them, and that will be your like super scored SAT exam. And that is something that I really wish I knew before I took the exam. But then again, don't just like leave one part blank or don't try on the second part that you're not focusing on because colleges can see both full scores at the end, but super score is a really good opportunity for anyone to take.
echoing everything that was said, if you are thinking of applying to med school or law school once you're in undergrad, you will have to take another standardized test. I took the LSAT. I did the same thing that Nyla did 2 summers ago. It really is about making sure you have a schedule and you stick to your schedule. I think that is when you will see the most growth, when you say you're going to study every single day, not for the entire day, but for maybe 2 hours, maybe 3 hours, and then you have a break day. That's what I did, and that's where I found the most success. I would do it incrementally as well. So I would do sections throughout the week, and then you would want to take a full practice exam that is like very similar to how you're going to take it the day of. So that way you know this is what your range is expecting and you don't have any surprises once you take your actual final exam.